you ever lay in bed at 2 a.m. running the full disaster simulation? You said something slightly weird in a meeting. Now your brain is 6 steps ahead. They think you're incompetent. You get passed over for the promotion. You spiral. You quit. You're broke. You're a cautionary tale at family dinners for the next decade. Your brain built an entire movie, produced it, directed it, cast it, full score and everything. But here's what I want to ask you. Why can't you do that for the good stuff? Seriously. You have this extraordinary ability to take one small moment and stretch it into an entire imagined future. You can simulate consequences, play out reactions, feel the emotions of things that haven't even happened yet. That's actually insane when you think about it. That's a superpower. You're just only using it in one direction. Let me paint the picture more clearly, because I think most of us don't even realize how sophisticated this negative simulation actually is. It doesn't just stop at the obvious fear. It goes deep. It anticipates other people's reactions. It writes their dialogue. It imagines the look on someone's face. It factors in history, every time something went wrong before, and uses that as evidence that it'll go wrong again. It builds a case, a detailed, emotionally convincing case for why things are going to fall apart. And the wild part, it does all of this in seconds, without you asking, without you even wanting it to. You're just trying to fall asleep and your brain is out here running a full legal argument for why you're doomed. That's not a broken brain. That's actually an incredibly powerful brain. It's just been pointed in the wrong direction for so long that it feels normal. We have a name for it when it goes negative. Overthinking, anxiety, catastrophizing. There's a whole therapy industry built around slowing it down, quieting it, shutting it up. But nobody really talks about the flip side. What if the problem isn't that you think too much? It's that you only aim that thinking at the worst case. What if instead of catastrophizing, you practiced what I'd call best catastrophizing? Just running the tape in the other direction. You send the email, pitching your idea. Okay, what happens? They love it. They bring you into the room. You're articulate, you're prepared, the energy is right. They greenlight it. You build something you're proud of. A year from now, you're telling this story as the moment things shifted. People are asking you how you got there and you're saying, honestly, I just sent the email. Your brain can do that. It literally just did it for the disaster version automatically. The question is why you don't let it run the other simulation just as long, just as vividly, just as seriously. Here's what I think is happening. We treat optimism like it's naive. Like if you imagine things going well, you're setting yourself up to be embarrassed. Like hope is for people who don't know how the world works yet, people who haven't been burned enough times to know better, and we treat worry like it's wisdom. Pessimism gets to call itself realism. Anxiety gets to call itself preparation. Spiraling gets to call itself being thorough. And so we let the negative simulation run completely unchecked because it feels responsible. It feels like we're taking life seriously. But here's the thing, we're not being serious. We're being scared. And fear is louder than hope. So we handed it the microphone a long time ago and just forgot to take it back. The anxious simulation isn't more accurate than the hopeful one. It just feels more credible because somewhere along the way we decided that trusting good outcomes was foolish, that protecting yourself meant always expecting the worst, that being ready meant being braced. But most of the worst-case scenarios your brain has ever run, they didn't happen. Sit with that for a second. Think about all the disasters your brain simulated that just never came. The conversation you rehearsed for days that went fine. The presentation you were sure would bomb that people actually responded to. The risk you almost didn't take because your brain had already played out the failure and then it worked. Your brain was wrong. Confidently, elaborately, cinematically wrong. And you lived through the predictions not coming true so many times that you should have stopped trusting them by now. So why are we still treating our anxious imagination like it's a reliable weather forecast? There's actually science behind why this happens, and it's worth understanding because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Your brain has what's called a negativity bias. It's wired to pay more attention to threats than to opportunities. This made sense when we were living in environments where missing a threat could kill you. A rustle in the bushes, a stranger approaching, food that might be spoiled. Your ancestors who were slightly more paranoid survived longer and passed that paranoia on to you. Thanks for that, by the way. But we're not in that environment anymore. The threats are different now. Nobody is going to eat you because you sent a risky email. You're not going to die because you tried something and it didn't work. But your nervous system doesn't fully know that. It's still running ancient software on a modern life, and that ancient software defaults to imagine the threat in detail so you can prepare for it. The upgrade is realizing you can use that same detailed imagination intentionally. You can redirect it. You're not fighting your brain. You're just giving it a different assignment. I'm not saying pretend everything is fine. I'm not saying toxic positivity, vision boards, just believe hard enough and the universe provides. I'm saying use the same cognitive machinery, the same detailed, specific, emotionally real simulation. Just run it toward a good outcome for once. Because here's what that actually does. When you vividly imagine a good future, your brain starts treating it as something real to move toward. Psychologists call this mental contrasting, and the research shows that when you combine a clear positive vision with an honest look at what's in the way, you take more action than people who only focus on the obstacle. You start noticing opportunities that fit the picture you've built. You ask different questions. You make different choices in small moments because you have a direction you're actually pulling toward. It also changes how you show up physically, how you walk into a room, how you start a conversation. The energy you bring when you genuinely believe something good is possible, people feel that. It's not magic, it's just what confidence actually looks like from the outside. The anxious simulation makes you shrink before you even begin. The hopeful one, just as detailed, just as emotionally real, makes you lean in. And I want to talk about something that doesn't get said enough, which is the cost of only running the negative tape. It's exhausting, like genuinely physically exhausting. Your nervous system doesn't fully distinguish between something that's happening and something you're vividly imagining. When you run a disaster simulation in detail, your body responds to it. Cortisol, tension, shallow breathing, the whole thing. You are literally spending energy on something that hasn't happened and probably won't. Now imagine spending some of that same energy imagining things going well. Not in a vague, wishful way, but in that same specific cinematic way your brain already knows how to do. You'd be spending the same energy, but building towards something instead of bracing against it. That's the reframe. It's not about thinking less, it's about where you're spending the thought. So here's the practice, and I mean an actual practice, not just a vibe. Next time you catch yourself 5 steps deep into a worst-case spiral, stop. Don't fight it. Don't shame yourself for it. Don't try to force yourself to think positively. Just notice it. Name it even. There's the disaster movie. And then say, okay, let's run the other one. Same situation, same starting point. But this time, what if it goes well? Not perfectly, not magically, just, well, realistically well. What does that actually look like? Walk through it step by step the way your anxiety walks through the failure. Who are you talking to? What are you saying? How does the other person respond? What happens next? What does it feel like in your body the week after it works out? Who do you tell? What do you do differently because of it? Build it out. Give it the same runtime, the same detail, the same emotional investment you gave the disaster version. You're not lying to yourself. You're not ignoring risk. You're just giving your brain an equally valid scenario to work with. And since neither the disaster nor the dream has actually happened yet, you might as well spend some time walking toward the one that pulls you forward. Here's the thing about imagination that I think we forget. It's one of the few places where you are completely in charge. Reality has rules. Other people have their own agendas. Outcomes are uncertain. But in your head, in the space where you're running these simulations, you get to decide what plays. Most of us have been unconsciously handing that space over to fear and calling it being realistic. But realism doesn't require pessimism. Clarity doesn't require dread. You can be clear-eyed about what's in front of you and still choose to imagine yourself on the other side of it. Your brain is a simulation engine. It's going to run scenarios no matter what. That's just what it does. You can't turn it off, and you don't need to. You just need to start feeding it better material. You already know how to overthink. You've been doing it for years. You're probably doing it right now in some corner of your mind while you're watching this. So take that skill, that specific, detailed, emotionally vivid, completely committed ability to imagine a future that hasn't happened yet and aim it somewhere worth going.